first? Who? Got to first base. Who? Got first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First. Thank you all for listening. If you're out there, I really appreciate it. I am Tim Ellebrook. That is Michael Ramsey, and that is Brian Kaplinger. And we're ready to talk some ball. Truth be told, we are recording this as the Bears game is playing, so hopefully it's not too distracting. But how are you guys doing? You enjoying football today?
Yeah, for me, I'm doing good. But yeah, if you see me kind of look to the side, I'm just checking the score, seeing if big plays happen. You know, got to keep up with it all because I have sorely missed baseball. I mean, if baseball was on, I'd be distracted by that too. So
that's right.
Mad fix. I don't know if enjoy is the word I would use considering how bad the Houston Patriots game was, but I've been watching a lot of football, yes.
Hey, it's all right. If you're just tuning in and you didn't catch it, touchdown Bears. It's looking to be 7-7 here early in the second.
Yeah, but when people watch this, the game will be over.
I know, right? They'll be able to watch the highlights.
They'll get to experience it in real time again.
That's right. That's right. Well, and those that don't care about football at all that do tune in, they'll be like, "Who cares, man? Why are you even telling me what the score is?"
Yeah, watch it be a blown-out game and nobody wants to relive it anymore or anything.
Especially if there's Bear fans.
Right. Well, whoa, what are you saying? Easy.
See, look, somebody finally caught it. Right.
Yep. Before we get started, just appreciate you guys listening again. If you could give us a follow and subscribe, give it a like on YouTube and Spotify, that would be awesome. Just trying to connect with more people and talk baseball with everybody. We're going to go over the three-headed monster that was all of the signings this weekend and just kind of talk about what that means for the landscape of the season this year. And I mean, mostly the National League, because all three of the big signings are in the National League, but the implications of that, and maybe even the implications of, the following season and what, the new evil empire has brought to the game. But so let's start with this one. I'm gonna start this with you, Michael, since this is near and dear to your heart. The Cubs have finally made the big move. We talked about it a little bit last time, but the Cubs made a big move, signed Alex Bregman for the 5-year, $175 million. But they also brought Edward Cabrera, right?
Yeah,
I get them two mixed up with Genesis Cabrera.
Yeah,
our old friend. But they've made some moves. They did a lot of signings. My question to pitch to you guys, and Michael, we'll start with you. Is this enough moves to make the Cubs a big contender for the National League championship?
Well, obviously everybody's got to beat out the Dodgers, obviously. That's where everything starts. But, to start on the Cubs piece rather than everybody else, maybe. So the reason I say that, so Alex Bregman versus Kyle Tucker is kind of what we're looking at here. Alex Bregman's probably going to give us a little bit more consistent season than what Tucker provided last year. Tucker's ceiling last year with the Cubs was probably a little higher. It'll be interesting to see how the Bregman piece is going to play with, guys like PCA, because early on, Kyle Tucker being in the lineup elevated PCA significantly, and then when Tucker got hurt, we all saw a major drop-off because all of a sudden all that pressure that had been taken off of PCA, he was putting on himself, and you could see that in basically every at-bat he was up there. He was swinging for the fences, knew that they needed the long ball, and unfortunately he was putting a lot of that on himself. Like I said, Bregman's going to give you a pretty consistent season, I think, as long as he stays healthy. Obviously, we can never predict that stuff. But it's an interesting piece. Obviously, that indicates they're more than likely going to probably move on from Nico Horner, if I had to guess. Because moving on from Matt Shaw after 1 year would be kind of crazy after deciding to stick with him over Cam Smith last year. It's not unheard of. At the same time, the Cubs haven't expressed a ton of interest in moving Horner right away, so it may be one of those pieces that Shaw becomes more of a utility guy for early in the year, and maybe Horner gets moved at the deadline, or maybe they work something out and they move Shaw or one of those guys moves around and gets shuffled into the outfield or something. Shaw would be the ideal guy there, I would assume, just because he just made the pivot to third base last year, having been a shortstop, second baseman previously. Did a really good job. By end of year, he was an excellent third baseman. So I kind of hate that piece, but at the same time, the Alex Bregmans of the world are going to trump a guy that's like 23, 24 years old, that batted like 230 or something. He's already made the name for himself. He's shown that he can be that guy for a big time team. I think the Edward Cabrera piece, once again, barring the health, is a huge move for the Cubs because it stabilizes that rotation a lot. He shows a lot of upside for what he could provide. Now, obviously, the wheels could come off that. He could become erratic, and then the Cubs just completely blew out their future for him, having moved on from Owen after holding on to him for so long. So I like that move, the Cabrera move. I would have preferred it have been Joe Ryan. Just you boys know I'm a huge Joe Ryan guy, so I feel like he's a little bit more I know what I'm getting than with Cabrera. But Cabrera definitely has a lot of upside, and he's under control for more years than Joe Ryan is, which I know the Cubs front office loved.
Yeah.
I think that the NL is definitely open. Outside of if anybody can get past the Dodgers, and as you said, Tim, the evil empire. The Phillies running it back with basically the same team. So questions there. The Mets will get more, deep into what they are. I'm sure coming up, and so don't know what they are. The Braves kind of the same way. Can they stay healthy? What's their future look like? The Central is always kind of up for grabs. Milwaukee obviously will be there more than likely because they always are. Cincinnati seems like they're up and coming, but can they get over that hump? So yeah, I'd say that this puts the Cubs in a good spot to compete. Whether they can get over the hill, over the hump, a lot of that's going to rely on some of these young guys. If Michael Busch keeps doing what he's doing, which I think he will, I think he's going to be a borderline all-star this year. He honestly could have been there last year with the way he was playing, and by the time the playoffs rolled around, he was one of the best first basemen in the league, in my opinion, from both sides of the ball. So, Bush, obviously, like I said, you kind of know what you're getting with him. It's the PCA, really, obviously. You need him to do a lot of what he did early in the year, where he was playing a lot of small ball and then got the home runs rather than trying to swing for the fences every time he got up there. And I think Bregman being there kind of as a safety cap's going to help with that. But y'all kind of pitch that over. That's what I'm feeling good, but not great. Like I said, it's not necessarily the guy that I hoped we landed, or not necessarily think that it's the piece where I'm like, oh, we just got Aaron Judge or somebody like that. But I do think that Alex Bregman does bring a certain pedigree from his Houston days. Knows a lot about winning, and I think that can help a lot of those youngsters out.
Absolutely. I got a thought, and then I'll hit it to you, Brian. For me, I feel like on paper, I feel better about them this year than I did last year. And you guys are going to get Justin Steele back as well to add to it. We didn't know what Cade Horton was at the time. We didn't know what Matthew Boyd was at the time. Matthew Boyd ended up being an all-star, a stellar pitcher for the year.
Yep.
Cade Horton had an amazing year, ended, early. I feel so much better about their rotation. The bullpen, I still kind of think, you just kind of don't know. Bullpens are kind of fickles, and they could be amazing. There's a couple good pieces. Lineup-wise, I do agree. If you think about one versus the other, Tucker versus Bregman, Tucker's a better hitter to fit in the lineup. But I also don't think there was an interesting comment Jed Hoyer talked about during the conference that Bregman is signing. He said one of the first things he did is he asked for information for from the hitting coaches of what like the game plans are, what you're teaching everybody, because he wants to make sure that he's on the same page as what they're teaching and not take away from, hey, this is what I do and this is my plan, not take away from the Cubs, hitting philosophy or anything, but to learn it better. And I also don't think I also think that it's you can never quantify what somebody does for a clubhouse, and I would imagine because of experience. Now, I mean, Bregman and Tucker came from the same team. They both had the same, they both went to the same World Series together in 22. Bregman started earlier, obviously, but I would imagine with Bregman being a little older, he's probably got a little more leadership experience. He's a little out in front more in the sense of the way he communicates and talks with players. So I would imagine it's probably a better scenario as a clubhouse leader than Tucker was. I mean, we don't know these people, but Tucker seems like a quiet person. Yeah. The one person I'm paying attention to in the Cubs lineup is, I don't know how you pronounce it, Ballesteros. Ballesteros, thank you. What is he going to be? Because it seems to me that the expectation on him is pretty high for what he needs to bring to the table. So what does he end up being? The lineup, it's the best in the Central by far, on paper, by far. And they took the Brewers to 5 games, and the Brewers looked like they were just a better team, and then all of a sudden just, got trumped. So I put the Cubs up against the Dodgers personally. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound a little bit like a backhanded compliment to a degree. I mean, but I'll say the good out front. Obviously, to me, they're the best team in the Central. Honestly, when I look at it page for page, they're neck and neck with what I would consider probably the second best on paper team in the National League. That's not, looking at what they've been able to kind of put together. Some of the questions is this really going to remain this way? You said it, Michael, is Horner actually going to be around? Because without him, I mean, Shaw's got big shoes to fill at second base if he's the one that is going to move over there in that component, because Horner's kind of that unsung hero on this team. I mean, he's consistent. He plays Gold Glove defense. I mean, there's a lot that he brings. And now there's a world in which they keep him, but my money's on them moving him just because they want to stay under that tiered luxury tax, and the only way to do that is going to be moving a contract like Horner's. There's just no way around that. And when you've got so many teams that have missed out on that infielder that they want, and then you talk about even Atlanta losing Kim, for a good portion of the team, those are teams now that probably weren't in the mix that all of a sudden are going to be making calls to say, hey, we could use a Nico Horner on our team, and if you're really looking to unload that salary, we'll make that move. And I think that's going to be a bigger hit to the Cubs than they realize on paper. I could be completely wrong in this, but if you don't do that, let's say you do hold on to him, are we comfortable with Suzuki going back to the outfield? That's an idea they did not like. That's why they brought Tucker in, was to get him to DH. Now you're saying he's the right fielder unless you're going to throw Shaw out there in a new position, which, I mean, he's athletic enough to figure it out, but we've seen, people move. It takes them time to build up an understanding. And then you talk about putting someone in right field in Wrigley, the wind tunnel that becomes infinitely harder there on fielders in that regard. And now you're asking somebody that's probably played it at some point, maybe in the minor leagues or even, in high school or something like that. He's probably athletic enough, again, to go out there and shag balls and all that. But you get into game action and it becomes a little bit more interesting. To me, I think, Michael, you hit on it a little bit. Tim, you talked about it too. The pitching is what's really going to matter. Are we going to get the same Boyd? Are you going to get a good, healthy Steele? Can Horton repeat what he's done? Now, if those three guys are, in fact, who they are, at least what we saw, they're going to be pretty daggone good. And I would put that pitching staff up just about with anybody. Cabrera, to me, I think, he has ace level stuff at times, but he gets very erratic. And can he stay healthy? So I think even if you can just kind of slowly roll him in, not put too much of an expectation on him at the beginning of the season, let him get settled, maybe even think about relaxing some of his innings early on so you can avoid that injury bug, it would be really, really good for them, because I think if he gets in rhythm and then all of a sudden you go from, 3 potential really good pitchers to 4, maybe even 5. I mean, like, I'm not trying to throw Shota under the bus here. I mean, he could have a bounce back. He's been good. It's just he's been a problem as of late.
Yeah.
And so that, that's some of it. And then you got Tyon, who's sitting there. And, I mean, he's just going to be maybe that innings eater for you, somebody that you can rely on. And so I think the depth for the starting pitching is good. I'm not as concerned about the bullpen. I don't think they have as much power at the back end of the bullpen as some of the other teams, but they've got some crafty guys. Like Maton ended up going there. So, like, they've got some guys that know how to get people out and know how to win. For me, it's really going to be about the lineup and what they do with Horner, because, like, their defense is good, but with Horner, it's great on the infield. Their outfield can be suspect at times. PCA can cover a lot of ground, but he also sometimes loses himself in the middle of the field and can just drop stuff. And so, again, the big question for me is Ian Happ back? Like, if he comes back,
like which version?
That's a game changer. If he plays like he did last year, you might as well put him on the bench and find somebody else to put out there, because it's going to be a problem. He's a great leader, but if he plays like he did last year, I don't know if you can keep him on the field in hopes that other people step up. I think, for me, I think PCA, and this will be the last thing I say, I think PCA can continue to grow from Bregman. I actually think Bregman might be better for PCA than Tucker was. So I think you see a step up in PCA's offensive game. And so I think, if PCA makes that leap, I wouldn't have said this early on, but I don't know if you miss Tucker that much if a lot of pieces fall into place. Now, if they don't, people are going to be clamoring about that. But on paper, the Bregman-Tucker switch, I don't think is as big of a gap difference as some people would say. Bregman's a little bit older, but not by much. A couple years, 3 years. And Tucker, we haven't really seen Tucker do much in playoff format. We have seen Bregman do something in playoff format. So that could be a bolster there, too, because they're going to get there. Like, don't mistake that. The Cubs are going to be in the postseason this year. They have enough to do that unless some freak injuries take place, which I hope doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's just, that's where I'm at with the Cubs. Like, I look at them as the front runners for the Central and probably fighting for that 2-3 seed overall in the playoffs.
It's interesting when you say the defensive alignment, because Tucker's not there, and then they brought an infielder in. That means Suzuki's got to go back out in the right field.
Yeah,
which is an interesting move because he's a horrible defender.
Right.
And Tucker was a really above average defender.
Right.
It makes me wonder, like, are they going to have Matt Shaw mess around, and go to the outfield?
Because it wouldn't surprise me.
If Ballesteros, he's a catcher, but probably going to DH. At least Fangraphs is listing him as a DH. They could do a couple of those moves, which means Matt Shaw would be in the lineup more. Whose bat do they covet more, Ballesteros or Suzuki or Shaw? Well, obviously one of them's got to sit.
And go ahead, Michael. I'll let you. You're the Cubs fan.
You're good. You're good. So that's where it's interesting. So last year with Matt Shaw, we knew he was moving to third base. Like the Cubs had already said long before. So he had all off season last year to be training to be a third baseman. And so when he came in, he had a couple rough games early on, but it really wasn't bad. He kind of, found his form pretty early. Right now, here we are. We're not that far out from pitchers and catchers reporting, and he's just now finding out that he's not going to be the starting third baseman this year. And not just is he going to be pivoting, potentially to an infield position? Is he going to be an outfielder? There's a lot there, but I saw enough from him from what he was able to do transitioning over to third base to tell me that he is athletic enough to go play out in right field without question and make that adjustment. But like you said, Wrigley's right field is not friendly to people who are not familiar with it. And we saw a little bit of that with Kyle Tucker early in the year last year on some balls. You're like, oh, he's going to go track
Yep.
that down. But that wall lines up right with the foul line out there. And guys get nervous running up against that wall, which
100%.
understandable.
Yeah.
But, we probably run into a little bit of that with Shaw out there for a little bit. If it was me and, looking at the picture, if they keep Horner around, because I agree with everything Brian just said, I think he is the linchpin to the entire team and was last year, and we saw that catalyst late in the year. The guy batted nearly 300 on the season, and that's kind of what he is. He's not a power guy, but that you're going to get that from other places in that lineup. The Ballesteros, Suzuki, all that, that piece of it is, the Cubs talked about potentially moving on from Suzuki before the year was kind of wrapping up last year. I honestly thought that Ballesteros may get moved this offseason versus Cassie. And obviously that's Miami definitely wanted to go a different way.
Right.
But we saw last year with Ballesteros, the guy's got a lot of power. From everything I've read, they do not think he can play catcher at the major league level as a starter. The Cubs have a really solid starting catcher, Miguel Amaya, but he was hurt for a good portion of the year last year. He came back and then re-injured himself in the first game he was back. Fortunately, Carson Kelly,
Right.
for some reason, had an all-star type season last year.
Yeah, and are
which
you even going to get that
definitely
same
helped.
Carson Kelly?
Correct. I would say if they keep Horner, what I foresee happening is they start testing Shaw out in the outfield, out in right field. Also, maybe spells Ian Happ from time to time to see what they may be able to get out there, because at the same time, Happ's getting a little older. Once again, his bat was not nearly what it had been the previous few years. I will say, to his credit, I did see late in the year last year he had one of the most unlucky bats in baseball.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those, like, was he as bad as you're seeing?
Yeah.
Maybe not, but the Cubs are kind of at a spot where they're trying to get younger outside of a guy like Bregman. And so I think Shaw ends up getting some outfield time. Horner really shouldn't be that expensive to bring back on a contract. This coming offseason, they really should have worked something out this year, in my opinion, because for all the reasons you hit on, Brian, like, the guy is just a all-around solid player. The rest of the players love having him around, and he takes the defense from being good to elite in the infield. I mean, you have Swanson and him locking down the middle of the infield. You don't have to worry about any balls that should be fielded, being kicked around or things like that. It just doesn't happen. And then Bush, he was excellent last year. Obviously, Shaw gets up for the Gold Glove by the end of the year, so the infield looks phenomenal. And Bregman will bring similar type of defense too. So the one piece that you hit on that I do love is I do think Bregman's a lot more of a vocal leader than what we got from Tucker, which may be, as you hit on, big for PCA and some of those young guys, because Tucker really seems more of like, hey, watch what I'm doing type of guy. Like, I'm going to kind of hold my own, realize
He's a Goldschmidt,
I'm here.
Arenado style
100%.
leader, and I don't say that in a bad way. I mean,
100%.
you need those players too.
Yep. And so, like I said, I didn't really see the Bregman piece happening. I mean, just 2 weeks ago we're talking about it. I think we all thought there was a couple landing places, in Chicago was not one of them that I realistically thought Bregman was going to land. Obviously their name was in there because everybody thought, there's no way they're re-signing Tucker, so maybe they throw out an offer that's not going to be rejected or something because they're not as good as some of the others. But that looks pretty good. The piece with the pitching that's nice is Boyd, kind of teetered out late in the year, but a lot of that was he was having to pick up a lot of innings we would not have truly expected him to have to pick up in a regular year. Still going down early in the year really hurt that rotation a lot because on top of that, Horton was a guy who had an innings limit. coming in on top of that as well as Boyd. So, you have two guys that you're throwing out there that you're like, I don't know if we want to throw these guys every day. So I fully expect the Cubs are going to throw a 6-man rotation out there for a good portion of the season.
Be smart.
Because, Imanaga, it may be a blessing in disguise that he signed that qualifying offer that we were not expecting him to sign. Because then all of a sudden you've got an extra arm that, like you said, if he's not having to throw every 4 days or 5 days, he's a lot sharper,
Right.
There's been a good portion over the first couple of years that we've had him that he's looked very good in that lineup. It's just he got hit around, late in the year, and it was always just 1 or 2 innings where, the guy's pitching great, and then he grooves one right down the middle of the plate. Guy takes him yard, and you're like, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, Shota's fallen off again, and that's ultimately because. Till the last month and a half of the season, the Cubs fully intended on exercising, bringing him back, and they kind of seemed like a perfect marriage. But like I said, over that last month, he was giving up so many home runs. It was like this guy's a pitching machine out here. So,
hey, we know the feeling in St. Louis.
Yeah. So no, I'm happy to hear you boys. I'm happy to hear you boys high on the Cubs. Obviously, I try to keep myself down, not get too hyped up. The Horner to the Braves is a really interesting piece, Brian, that you hit on. If he does go somewhere, that's a great spot because he does have just 1 year left on his contract. They would probably be happy to get someone whose contract is not super large, and he is naturally a shortstop, so he could easily transition to play shortstop too. So,
it's interesting as I look at this. Who do you guys think of all the Cubs has the highest K rate?
Highest K rate?
Yeah, in the lineup.
In the lineup right now, I mean, obviously,
without looking,
I would probably say PCA just because of early on.
Yeah,
I think it's tampered down. I don't know who that would be overall.
I'll be honest with you. Ian Happ strikes out a fair amount, so I wouldn't be surprised to see his name. But I think the name that may be on there is Suzuki.
Stansby Swanson.
Okay. I would not have.
Right.
I wouldn't have guessed
I would not
that.
have picked that name. No.
He's got sitting at 26%. Suzuki's at 2.52, and PCA's at 24.
Okay. Yeah.
Still better than Javi Baez at like 35, but.
Right. There's a good amount of swing and miss on this team, but there's also a good amount of power and pop because that's the thing. Like with Suzuki, it's like, he sucks defensively, but when he is on and he's on fire, there's not a better bat you want in that lineup. So I could see where if Shaw can master an outfield spot, I can see where that DH role becomes like a platoon based on the pitcher they're facing and the splits that they have with Ballesteros and Suzuki, or even Shaw for that matter. I mean, it gives the Cubs a lot of flexibility if Shaw can move to the outfield, because then they can really kind of give people rest, shuffle people in, different things, and maybe have some decent pop in those bats that are still coming off the bench as well.
True. It kind of makes me wonder. This is. I mean, they are humans, but Suzuki DH'd for the first half of the season, and then Kyle Tucker got hurt. I don't remember the month that Tucker got hurt, but when he did, Suzuki went into the outfield and then started to perform less offensively. And is that a coincidence, or are those two things have tied to each other somewhat? So. Which bat's going to perform better at DH? Because also Wilson Contreras in St. Louis said last year that he hates DHing because when he goes to the dugout in between, he's got nothing to do but just think how poor he was at the plate that last at bat. Everybody's different. They're humans, and they got a different thing going on between the ears. So that is something I'll be interested to see. But all right, so wrapping that up, let's move on to the next big monster. Kyle Tucker is a Dodger. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
No, I didn't. You're breaking news to me.
Breaking news.
Signed for a $240 million 4-year deal. I remember when I saw that when it first came out, I was just like, "What?" Because the news broke that he was going to the Dodgers first, and I was just like, "Because of course he is."
Right.
And then the number came out, and I was just like, "What?"
100%.
When you dig in a little bit, it's going to be a 2-year deal, you would think, unless he just falls off a cliff and gets hurt and whatever,
Right.
and
Just raking in
options back
cash
for those 2 years. So I've got a two-headed question. I'll ask the first one first. Does this make the Dodgers good enough to win the World Series again?
I mean, number one, they were already good enough to win the World Series again without
Barely,
adding Tucker. Let's be honest. What's fascinating is like outside of Pages on their projected starting lineup, Tucker is the youngest player.
That's crazy.
At 29 years old. Like, the Dodgers are doing something rare in the sense that, they're just acquiring talent, but they're also acquiring this talent that is aging quickly. I mean, we saw what kind of happened to Mookie Betts, and I do not anticipate another year like last year from Mookie. He's just too good of a player to have that happen again. But, I mean, if it does, how devastating is that? We've seen injuries pop up with Freddie Freeman as he's aging, so they don't have a lot behind them. Now, again, they got pitching for days, and they've got a great all-star lineup now. I mean, you're talking, probably the top 7 hitters that are going to show up are all-star level hitters in their lineup. And, I mean, even beyond that, I mean, you talk about like a Tommy Edman who might hit 8th, and then Pages down there at 9. Like, they're no slouches either. These are both 2 really good players that come up in clutch times. But it's insane to me that they were able to do it, but it doesn't surprise me at the same time. Like, we knew there were rumblings all along. I just anticipated somebody throwing the 7-year deal, but I also think the CBA, the pending lockout, all of that plays a part. And Tucker realized, I can grab a bunch of money and be a free agent in 2 years again when inflation hits one more time. And maybe now, instead of making $50 million a year, I can get up around the 60, 70 mark.
Mm-hmm. Something I think about when we were watching the postseason last year, Pages was just atrocious at the plate.
Yep.
But if you go back and look at his season numbers, he had a stellar season.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Especially even so for a center fielder. I mean, 4.1 WAR, 113 WRC plus. Like, that's an insanely good season. It's just in his first, round of the playoffs, he just didn't do very well. He might make an adjustment. So you always wonder, kind of the same way with PCA, what player is going to start the season? Is it the one from the playoffs, or is it the one from, the regular season? And the second thing I wonder, Mookie Betts had a pretty low bar season, especially for his norm. I mean, he still accumulated 3.4 WAR.
What a bum.
100, yeah, what a
So bad.
100.
I mean, I could do that in my sleep.
Right, 104 WRC plus. Like, it wasn't. It was league average. If you think about it, it's just that, man, the Dodgers and the way they played in the middle of the season was just like, that doesn't even look like the same team.
Right.
I kind of wonder if the team and the organization intended for him to be a second baseman, but with Tommy Edman on the roster, but Edman, they never looked up his injury card, I guess, and he he can't stay healthy to save his life, so it's like, well, we need a shortstop. And again, going back to the human side, like, how much focus, I mean, he was a Gold Glove finalist, how much focusing on that part of the game took away from the offensive part. I think he'll probably be fine, but to your point, Brian, like, it's an aging roster.
Right.
And you can see, like, they're not too far removed from being 3 or 4 players, not being able to do much anymore.
Right. I mean, you look at it, Mookie Betts, 33, Freeman is 36, Max Muncy's 35, Hernandez 33. I mean, these are guys that, like, again, they're good.
Yeah.
Borderline, a couple of those guys are going to be Hall of Famers, no doubt, in my opinion. But still, I mean, we had 2 potential. No, I shouldn't say potential. We had 2 Hall of Famers in St. Louis on the team, and we saw how quickly an aging player can be depleted at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you miss I think of 22, we had 4 to 5 of them at the same time. Had one amazing season, and then to your point, fell off.
Right.
And yeah, it is interesting. I think it is kind of funny to think that Tucker makes them a lot younger, but there is a lot of talk this offseason about how he was, he's the quiet guy. He kind of got the Rendon treatment from the media a little bit, like, oh man, does he love baseball? He's just that quiet guy. And this might end up being the best thing he ever did for himself because, he makes $120 million and he can opt out, and he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm done. And we, as a fan base, we're probably all like, that's the better version because at least they're not paying him for horrible production.
Right. Well, and he goes to L.A. and he disappears because who's everybody going to talk about? It's Shohei regardless. Yep. So it doesn't matter. Like, he's going to disappear as far as from the national spotlight until he does something offensively awesome or defensively awesome. He'll pop up and then go back off because Shohei will have 7-inning shutout with 3 home runs on the offensive side.
It's ridiculous.
He literally went to the one roster that he is, the 4th guy at least named.
Right.
There's no other roster in baseball that he could have gone and hit on. Still getting paid, the highest paid player on the team.
Right.
The year over year, but it's kind of crazy.
I'd argue number 5 too, because I think Will Smith's probably better.
You can make that argument, and I'm not going to hate it. So,
and maybe for him, that's what it was about. I mean, yes, 100%. He got paid. Money spoke, but the pressure's
100%.
off.
100%.
And the pressure's off now. He doesn't have to be the aircraft carrier on that team. Shohei and Mookie, if he's right, they're going to handle that.
And to that point, like the Blue Jays offered him, I think it came out and said it was 10 for 300 or is it 10 for 400? One of the two. Right. It was more money, but you never know. You don't know these guys, but he's like, do I want to play for 10 years or do I want to play for 2?
Do I want to play in Canada or do I want to play in LA? Like, I mean,
taxes are probly pretty bad in both spots.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty similar.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I was going to say you're not winning that one either way.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is with the contract status and where the Dodgers are with the CBA, the Dodgers are having to pay $127 million per year for his salary, even though he's only making like 57.
Yeah. Well, but
the 110% tax right now for them.
Right, but the reality too, though, and I think Tim, you sent out the post. I can't remember who it was, but how smart the ownership and all of them are being in LA.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because they're making money like crazy, not just off the players, but the TV revenue deal that they made where they still get, revenue off the TV broadcast, all of that. And so money is not the issue. And I can appreciate and hate it at the same time. The fact that I would love for my team to be doing 100%. Stuff like this. Obviously we don't have that market, but it's like, I would love to be the fans of the Los Angeles Dodgers and just be like, hey, it sucks to be you because look at us. Yeah. But at the same time, it does paint a target on your back. 100%. And every other fan base is going, I hate you. And I hope you all, have, plantar fasciitis for half the season.
Yeah. I mean, every sports needs every piece of entertainment. You want a villain, every story you want a villain.
Right.
Now, to the point that we made at the beginning, everything's got to go through the Dodgers right now. If in a perfect world, everybody was equally as talented, but at the same time, I don't know if that story would be as fun.
No.
If the Brewers beat the Dodgers last year in the NLCS, that would have been an incredible story to talk about because you've got a team that, what are they, bottom five
probably
in payroll, and they don't pay anybody, and they beat, the team that was number 1 in payroll. But at the same time, baseball is a weird sport. There's a lot of weird things can happen, which leads me to the second part of my question. Like, are the Dodgers beatable, or is this just run it back over and over and over to the end of time until the games, it's got to be games. There is no baseball anymore.
Yeah, Michael, you go first.
At a certain point, they can't keep bandaging their roster with these aging players.
Yeah.
Right now it's working for them because they're getting literally the best of the best. And if there's any fans in baseball that have to be just sick, it's the Yankees, because they're watching the Dodgers beat them at their own game. Go get the best
the
players
Mets.
in the world, which is what they used to do. Yeah, 100%. So, yes, they are beatable. A lot of it's going to come down to the roster's going to fall apart at some point. I think that the Dodgers have started making some moves that are going to hurt them down the road. Moving some young players that they held on to for a long time. That was for years and years. Their pitching staff, it was like they got rid of this guy, but they had another great young arm that came in, and another great young arm. And a lot of those great young arms are gone now. So they're relying a lot on these free agent pickups to come through. And you just never know how that's going to turn out. Sometimes a guy, the move from the New York to LA, they can't handle that. The move from a small market to a big market, they can't handle it. But these next couple of years, yeah, they're probably still going to be just unbelievable. It's hard to imagine them losing, but what we're seeing in football with Kansas City, at some point, you can't just keep relying on the one really big piece is going to keep carrying you. And their one really big piece is their pocketbook. At a certain point, when everybody keeps getting injured, it will come back to bite you at some point. Mookie, like you said, Brian, you've got 4 guys that are, 2 of them surefire Hall of Famers. The other 2 are probably arguably Dodgers Hall of Famers from what they've done in the playoffs and stuff. So on top of you're adding a Tucker plus that pitching staff, which is unreal. But there's a common factor among all those players, and it's they all have a major injury history. And it just takes a couple of those guys getting hurt at the same time. We saw a little bit of it last year, like you said, Tim, middle of the year where it peaked up, and all of a sudden we're sitting here going, are the Dodgers going to miss the playoffs potentially? Like, they're falling apart. The only thing that kept them from it is San Diego decided they wanted to keep losing the same games that the Dodgers were losing.
Right.
For whatever
Baseball's
reason.
Weird.
Weird. But yeah, I say these next couple of years, you're going to see a whole lot of the same. But once again, Otani's already had Tommy John twice, and he's a big linchpin of that pitching staff continuing to do what they're doing. Glasnow's in the same boat. Snell's had his ups and downs. When he's great, he's great. And the list goes on and on. Like, it's literally just an all-star roster out there, but it's all-stars that are all aging. We're not talking they have somebody that's 23 years old, for Tatis a couple years ago when you're like, oh my gosh, like this guy's so young, he's killing it. You've got 15 or 20 more years out of this. Like Freddie Freeman, we talked at the end of last year. There's a chance that we thought he may have walked away and just called it a career. And, would have been like, okay, totally understand. Betts and those guys, they're not that far off from that either. I mean, at a certain point, we're talking these guys are not just the borderline all-star players. These are like the elite of the elite all-star guys. And I would imagine, for me personally at least, I would feel this way, I would want to walk out on my own terms. And they've seen some of these other guys that stuck around too long, and they stick around for one extra year, and then it's like, I should not have stuck around. They regret sticking around that extra year. So yeah, these next couple years, you're going to see a whole lot more of that evil empire, like you said, Tim. But at a certain point, the Dodgers are going to have to make a major pivot from what they're doing currently.
Yeah. So I want to counter just a little bit. I was looking this up because I thought I had the right argument, but the Dodgers have 7 prospects in the top 100 right now.
Yeah, they do. Like,
they have the highest payroll and probably the best farm system. So it's either the 2 moves they make are using those prospects to get, more Kyle Tucker talent.
Which they will at the deadline.
They will. So how long could they keep this going until the bubble bursts? That chart I sent you guys a while ago, and for everybody, you should go watch this. I think it's the channel was named Willie Lytics, but they have the most staff of any baseball organization by far as well. So there's so many things that the reason they're going to win for a long time, to me, has not as much to do with money as, everybody is screaming, but they're the best run organization in the game, and they just happen to have an insanely good and deep pockets. Sorry, Brian, I know you got some thoughts.
No, you're good. I mean, I agree with that. Like, to answer the question, is it going to be a run back for them? I mean, in some ways, yes. Like, I think the playoffs, you're going to see them there. I think they're going to be fighting for the division out in the West. And maybe fighting may even be a strong word. Like, again, if injuries hit, they're going to struggle a little bit. But, I mean, they're going to be there. They're going to run away with the West if they're healthy. But I think the one thing I do think that Toronto was able to show is if you can match their pitching, it doesn't have to be with like all season, but just when you get in the playoffs, if you can have some pitching show up at the right time against the Dodgers, because I was looking at their lineup, as funny as it seems, they have bigger swing and miss in their lineup than the Cubs do.
Yeah.
They have more swing and miss in their lineup. And so Toronto showcased that there is a way to offset them. The challenge is you've got to be willing to, score some runs and pitch pretty well, because you're not going to be able to shut them down all the time. And I mean, let's be honest. You've said it a lot, even in this offseason. Toronto was two plays away from winning the World Series. And if a bounce happens to go one way or the other for Toronto, we're not even talking about LA as the champs.
Yeah.
We're still talking about Toronto. And I wonder if that makes a difference. If Tucker then goes, hey, Toronto is doing something, maybe accepts that deal. Like, it just happened to work out for the Dodgers. And I'm not saying it's all luck, because to your credit, Tim, and to your point, they are very well run. And like I said earlier, every fan base wishes their ownership group and their front office operated this way. They just can't. And that's okay too, because Milwaukee's figuring it out for a market like Milwaukee. Now, I think they're underselling themselves. They could do more, and they don't.
Sure.
But at the same token, they've got to work with what they've got, and they've been pretty successful at it.
Yeah.
The thing for their, yes, they got a lot of guys in the prospect pool in the top 100, which is great. But again, we've seen this. Not all of those guys are going to pan out. And so they've got to be right. They've got to be ready to move those guys. And that's what I think has made the Dodgers better than most teams, is they're willing to move a high profile prospect for a known quantity versus the unknown. Yeah. And some teams just aren't willing to do that.
Yeah. There's a graph out there about money to WAR value. And it was the Dodgers compared to the Yankees and how much money you spent per WAR that you accumulate. And the Yankees are by far outweighing like how much they pay for WAR in comparison. You think about the contract, even the simplest, the contract they gave Freddie Freeman, which was a big one at the time.
Right.
The amount of WAR that he's gotten inside of that contract window makes him really underpaid.
Sure.
And so it's like the amount of money they spend well, and I mean, Brian, you and I have known this the last 2 or 3 years. The stupid amount of money that's been spent on really, really low value is the problem that the Cardinals organization has had for quite a few years. So it's like, the Yankees are spending, the Mets are spending so much money, and they're not getting very much for their money at all, because it's just so much improper spending. To your point about the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers in that game, I think about how this offseason the Jays added all the pitching that they did,
right?
Because they saw the model that the Dodgers have, and what you were saying, Michael, about the Cubs doing the same thing. The Dodgers spent their entire season rotating pitchers in and out, them getting injured all the time. But they made that rotation 6 to 7 man, wearing the crap out of their bullpen. Now it came back to bite them in some places. Like they almost lost numerous amounts of time because the bullpen was just cooked.
Yep.
But in the end, starting pitching pretty much ran the World Series. And if the Blue Jays had a little more really talented starting pitching depth, they probably would have won. Because if
Yeah.
you think about the Game 7, the two big homers that were at the end between Will Smith and Miguel Rojas, one was a starting pitcher. What's his name? The young kid, the overhand throw.
You Savage.
Yeah,
Savage.
Savage gave up the one home run in like the 7th, and then Miguel Rojas is, for no reason should he have hit a home run, except baseball is a weird sport. But at the same time, the reliever had been throwing so much.
Right.
So the pitching.
Wasn't it
depth of the
Varland?
Dodgers- Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Varland. It was Hoffman.
Okay,
gave up the
yeah.
home run to
That's
Rojas.
right.
If you had, and the Dodgers brought so much starting pitching depth, but at the same time, man, if Yamamoto hadn't been on the craziest heater of all time, the Dodgers probably lost that in 5 or 6,
100%.
But 2.5 games because he closed it. So it is the starting pitching depth is what won them the game for sure. But as you were saying, the swing and miss that they had, I was looking. This Ohtani dude has 25.7 K rate. That's like horrible. So bad, man. He needs to be better.
He'll be off the roster at some point.
Yeah, right.
Trade him right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not this big like the Dodgers are ruining baseball person, because
It's all going to change in 2 years anyway.
that, and just the Andrew Friedman, man. It's the guy who runs the organization. Sure, he's got a deep pocketbook, but he's running a really, really competent and smooth organization that's able to sell players when they don't need them to get a player, and they get the right player with the right amount of WAR for the right amount of money. Yeah. The Mookie Betts trade in 2019 and what they've gotten out of him for the money that they gave him.
Unreal.
Right.
Boston, man. Did you have a thought? I didn't want to.
No, yeah, I was literally just gonna say, to Brian's point, like, it's literally, I would love the Cubs to do what the Dodgers are doing. Like, we're not in the same bracket, but we're not in the
Right.
Pirates bracket. We're a lot closer to the Dodgers bracket than we are the Pirates, and it irritates the heck out of me watching these big time free agents go sign with some random team, and it's like the Cubs could offer that. Like, that would have made our
Right.
team better. And we definitely had the money to go spend that, but we're just not. And then you see the Dodgers where they're like, do we need Kyle Tucker? No.
Not really.
But it'd be nice to have a Kyle Tucker, so let's
Right.
throw a huge contract at him for a couple years and see if we can add him to the
So
the
my
piece.
one argument, they had a guy named Michael Conforto last year, who is just
100%.
he's probably the most amazing dude on the planet, but his page, his stat line was pretty awful.
Not ideal.
So the upgrade they got on paper is pretty incredible if you think about it.
He's a bit
No
of a
argument
step up,
there.
that's for sure.
Dodgers made over $400 million in a payroll.
Yeah, but I look at it like, if they really wanted to for money's sake, go get a Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
Like, for the Dodgers, he fits well there.
Yeah,
It's the same premise. I understand why they got Tucker. Like, I'm not trying to paint that, but, to me, it's like, it's a bit of an overspend for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they win the World Series both years,
Again.
then they're going to be like, hey, we did what we needed to
worth
do.
it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the last of the three heads. The Mets finally got their guy that was not supposed to be their guy, but the guy that they got. Bo Bichette signs essentially a 1-year deal, but he signs a 3-year deal for $126 million. And they're going to put him at third base, in which a position he's never played in his life.
Mets doing what the Mets do, baby.
Mets,
The
baby.
Metsing. Question to you guys. At the beginning of the offseason, David Stern went out and publicly talked about how we've got to get better at run prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big note because they had some terrible defense. Lindor is a phenomenal shortstop.
Pivot.
But I'm assuming the richest man in sports said, I've got to spend money on somebody and we've got to pay somebody because we can't look bad. Did did the Mets do enough to complete the task of the offseason that they set up to do? And are they actually any better?
No. I'll just say it.
No?
I mean, I don't think they're any better. I mean,
No.
I like what they added. Like, I think Simeon, to me,
Yeah.
was the bigger deal than even Bo Bichette. Like, I think he adds a lot to their team, and maybe he can help out. But think about it this way. 2 of the 4 of your infield core really hasn't played the positions you're going to ask them to play.
Yep.
And that also means that Juan Soto is still going to be your right fielder. And as great of a bat
What are you
as that
trying to
young
say?
man has, like, he is destined for first base, like, or DH. Like, that's
100%.
his role. And you went out and you signed a guy in Polanco to be your everyday first baseman. Like, to me, like, I would have put more of an effort, and I said this all along, and maybe he just didn't want to be there. But I would have fought tooth and nail to get Kyle Tucker in New York in a Mets uniform and been talking to Soto all along saying, you're going to be either our DH or you're going to be our first baseman.
I mean, they gave him the same contract, though. I mean, it was like $10 million difference. And how are they
Right.
supposed to know which one was better?
Right. I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, if you find out LA's doing this, come back and give him the same stinking deal with $5 more million if that's what it takes. You know, if you're really going to do what you said you were going to do. That's why I yelled out pivot, because to me it makes no sense in the world what you're doing if you're trying to get better at run prevention. The only person you added that's actually going to help that cause is Simeon. The other 2 that you have that you've added outside of that, there's no guarantee. Now, I could be completely wrong. Who knows? Polanco could come in and be an amazing first baseman. I mean, we talked about it with Willie moving from catcher to first base. Now, catchers have some tendencies and athletic abilities that tend to lean towards first base a little bit better than other positions. But still, I mean, he was good at first base as a defensive first baseman. They're betting on all these bats to show up. They're betting on Polanco to do what he did last year offensively. We know Soto's going to be Soto. Can Lindor continue to be who he's supposed to be as an offensive player? And now you're saying, Bo Bichette, go be that offensive player you've been, and I don't care if you have 15 errors in a week type of deal. Because, again, he could be better
Then you let a ton of
at
power
third.
walk out.
Right. He could be better at third than we think because there's not as much range there that would be needed than shortstop and second base. And so maybe his glove does play better at third. But by doing that, you also pull a young guy in Brett Beatty off the infield. He's going to be a platoon infielder. And then if you want his bat, he's got to be a DH. Or we go back to the Cubs conversation. Is Beatty being talked about going to the outfield? Do you start to try and play around with him and see if he can be a corner outfielder and Soto can go to that DH role? I don't know. But to me, it just seems like you kind of missed what you were swinging for. And you settled. And not that Bo Bichette's a bad guy, but you settled.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't fit the roster. He's an elite player, but he doesn't fit the roster.
Yeah,
I think
the
is what you're saying,
Simeon
right?
Yes.
the Simeon move seemed calculated. It made a lot of sense. Totally understood where they were coming from on making that move. Makes the defense a lot better. Guy does have some power to kind of help make up for losing Alonso and stuff. But you're getting an elite defensive player, which they desperately needed. But the big piece they needed was outfield help. And everybody knew that. It just seems like the Bichette piece, they wanted Tucker. Obviously, like you said, Tim, they didn't miss out by a lot. But to me, I don't know how all of it works behind the doors. But I agree with Brian. Like I would have just figured out a way to bring me whatever they are offering you, and I will match it plus something.
Right.
Because we need you in New York. We will figure out how to make this work. The one thing they could do to potentially right the ship if they're going to continue to spend money would be to go get Cody Bellinger. He is the one guy I think that could help fix that. The outfield piece of it, because Soto is going to keep killing you in the outfield. Like you said, he's got to make a pivot at some point to a different position, especially since you've got so much money relying on him staying in the lineup for the next 10 to 12 years. So, you've really got to make a major turn at some point because, one, he's probably going to get hurt out there. Two, he's just a bad outfielder, so he hurts you significantly. Bellinger, if you could get him, I think they can make this work. The Bichette piece of it, he's a great hitter. You added a great contact guy that has decent power. But at the same time, like you said, we're getting a guy now that we don't know how he's going to perform out there at third base. We assume he'll be okay. I don't expect him to be Juan Soto out there in the outfield at third base, but you're asking him to play a position he's never played before and kind of step into it pretty quickly. And like you said, now you're stepping on Beatty's toes, a guy that you really want to see elevate in the franchise. And you're probably going to have to pivot him to either a utility guy or move him to the outfield and see how he can work that out. And, then you're basically going to have the same thing that you've had with Jeff McNeil for several years. And you've just got a utility guy that's not elite at any position, but he's good, that you ultimately will pay at some point just because you're used to having him around. So I don't know. It was a weird move for them. Like you said, Brian, it is a huge pivot. It just felt like, okay, we've got to go get one of the big guys because we can't be left out of the race for one of the big couple guys. But, like I said, Bichette, maybe he is the piece. I don't know. I mean, the man, he wasn't there last year. He was phenomenal in the playoffs, which is something that they desperately need, is a guy who's going to show up in the playoffs. So, but also they got to get there. So,
right. I don't even think they're the best team in the East, and that's in my opinion.
I think
I still think the Philly. I think the undersold signing of that division is Adolis Garcia going to the Phillies. I think they're going to find a way to unlock him again, and you're going to see potential MVP type season from Garcia once again.
Yeah, I think the Braves are honestly the best team in the East. For them to be healthy is obviously the question.
Yep.
Right.
Because if you think we're only 2 years removed from them being the best offense baseball's ever seen. Yep. But back to me, I said this on Twitter. Bichette is honestly the absolute best bat to put behind Soto. Offers
100%.
the best protection, probably except for Alonso, maybe.
Yep.
Maybe Tatis Jr. would be a great protection, but I feel like he would be a better.
He'd be amazing in general. Find a way to get him there.
Yeah. No, well, I'm just saying of not necessarily a bats available like what kind of hitter would be. A right-handed guy, but a guy that will put the ball in play, the contact skills, but man, he doesn't fit on the field at all. But he's also, he's 27 years old, and it's kind of too early to DH him. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking at his savant. He's in the 1 percentile for range.
Come on. And you don't see that when he's playing?
And arm strength is in the 30%. It is an anomaly because the best bat available to protect Soto is brought on the board. Honestly, he would be a perfect fit at second base. And you could tell in the playoffs last year with the Jays, like he actually did pretty good. Made some pretty good plays. Being in second base made the range issue fit better. He seems kind of a little stubborn, like, hey, I'm a shortstop. Kind of, but like
not anymore.
Do you guys get the vibe that Steve Cohen's a little Jerry Jonesin?
Yeah. I see it. And I think he's, I don't want to just throw him under the bus. I think he's a good owner in the sense that he wants his team to be well, but I think there's a lot of panic moves that happen. Yep. Like you said at the beginning, I think it was, hey, we're swinging at this guy. We didn't get him. We got to do something quick. Oh, Bo Bichette, get him on the line. He can opt out after 1 year. I don't care. I just need this signing because I need the headlines.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, oh, I wish I could have that fire burning in me that, oh, man, I need to spend millions. Right,
Right.
I can't hold on to it.
Right.
Man, that would be, I wouldn't mind that feeling.
Yeah.
It will be interesting. As I was looking at the page really quick, their fan graphs lineup projection, they have Brett Beatty at DH, which is interesting. But actually, when you look at the roster, they don't have a left fielder right now. Carson Binge is left fielder. He has yet to play in the MLB at all. But if you look at the lineup outside of Tyrone Taylor and Simeon, let's take Simeon out because we know what he's there for. Tyrone Taylor is the only below average offensive player. Simeon is, but that's not what he's there for. Lindor 129 WRC plus, Juan Soto 156, Bichette 134, Polanco 132, Brett Beatty 111, Alvarez 124. Their offense is a lot better than I thought. Now, what is Vientos going to be? What is probably Acuna going to be? Because he's been pretty below average ever since he debuted. But yeah, I agree with you. Is as bad as it would be to me for them to spend money on Bellinger because they just don't need to keep spending money, that probably is a great fit for their lineup.
Yeah, put him in left field.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd put him in center. I don't know that.
I mean, if they want to spend money and fix, go get Bellinger and bring back Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
And that solves your outfield issue right there.
Honestly, I'd probably put them ahead of the Phillies right there.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I mean, because you put Bellinger in center, you put Bader in left, and, I mean, you've got at least a good portion of your outfield covered.
Yep.
And, heck, with both Bader and Bellinger, shift them and make Bellinger play right center and Bader left center, and he can cover left center and left field, and then Bellinger can cover right field, too, and you can tell Soto, just go stand on the line in case the ball's hit that way.
Yeah, they'd still have a lower payroll than the Dodgers, which is crazy. Their talent level would be pretty close too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Is there anything else you guys want to go over before we get to?
Not on that. I mean, I'm just ready, man. Ready. Let's get some baseball classic. Let's get some baseball back rolling. Some live games.
Yeah, I'm pumped. The more I talk about it, I'm just like, let's go. 45 days until WBC starts. We are I think we're 23 days until pitchers and catchers report.
Let's
get it. That's right.
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Weeks, boys. Weeks.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, let's do the Savant thing. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to do a guess this hitter type of thing. So I'm not sure what this is gonna look like on the recording, but we're just gonna go with it. Brian, you go first.
I was gonna say you gotta let me go first since you think you got this nailed already. So let me pull it up here. Make sure I grab the right one this time.
And if anybody ends up watching, see if you can guess first. So I think that's.
Yeah, because here's just so everybody knows, we were gonna say, hey, we'll give you the division that the player's in, and then you can guess from there, and we'll kind of whittle it down. If they don't get it, we could go to team, and if they still can't get it from the team, we can kind of go positionally to give people some help there on that side. But I flashed this up just to make sure I could put it on the screen, and Tim goes, that's too easy. And so I threw out there and said, all right, then throw it out. Tell me who it is before I give you any information.
So I'm going to make just one guess. Is it Tatis?
It is not Tatis.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right.
Any guesses, Michael?
Yeah, you are.
And then I'll tell you the division. Now, that might give it away.
Yeah, I was say, give me the division. I might be able
all
to
right,
figure this out.
It's an AL West.
But he's qualified?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that gives it away.
Silence. I love it.
I don't
want
to make another guess until Michael has a shot.
Reading this is new for me, so I'm gonna give you J-Rod, just based off of that, but I'm sure that's probably not correct.
You are correct, my friend.
Oh,
it is Julio Rodriguez. Yes, it is.
That's a
Well,
The
whenever I
Mariners
saw
center
the-
fielder himself.
When I saw the bat speed, the run value, and the base running value, I was like, "There's not a whole lot of guys that are that good." That
Right,
are there
right.
in the AL West. So
Mike Trout's savant probably looked like that a few years ago.
you're not wrong.
Yeah, a number of years ago, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Michael, you want to go next? You want me to go next?
Yeah, I can go next.
Okay.
All right. Let's make sure I got that up. All right. Yep.
I knew you were going to go the Tatis route, Tim, because you know how much I love him. You thought I would just pull that card, and I thought about it, and then I was like, they're going to get it because I love him. So I'm not even going to go there.
I'm gonna guess his page looks kind of similar. I haven't seen it in a hot minute.
I haven't seen it either, so I don't know. Oh, this is tougher than I thought.
Range. So contact range.
Doesn't have burners. So that's going to tell me he is probably a corner infielder. See if I can get a reaction out of Michael, but he's being pretty stoic.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a division.
All right. It is NL West.
Range. High contact.
NL West.
Mid base runner.
Squared up. That's insane.
Really low bat speed. This looked like an Arenado stat page from like 2022. You said NL West?
NL West.
Is this
Yeah,
is this
NL
a second
West.
baseman? Is it a second baseman?
No.
No. All right.
what
So
I
it's a. Is it a third baseman?
So I'll tell you, this player has been a utility player.
Oh, okay. NL West. Is this I feel like he's faster. Is this Tommy Edman?
No, sir.
Yeah, his sprint speed would be faster. Dude.
He's got me stumped.
I'm excited.
What's his age?
I got him stumped.
What's the age?
He's over 30.
Over 30.
Sweet spot chase. Arm strength's low. Good range. Utility player.
Is this Max Muncy?
No. The fielding would have been really bad.
I was.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm gonna need a team.
I'm throwing him out there.
Wait. Is it is he on the Padres?
No.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna need a team.
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Dang it. You better.
I think I know who it is.
Is this the home run king in the
Yes.
World Series?
This is not. Though that would have been a good pool.
Right.
No, man, that whole page is red for him.
No, not Shohei. I'm thinking Rojas.
Yep, I
Yeah,
know who
so-
you're talking about.
Yeah, is it Miguel Rojas?
It is
It's not. It's not, man. Is it infield or outfield?
Yeah.
Oh, you said
Utility guy.
utility. Never mind.
Yeah,
you
he's
said
a utility guy.
And he's
And
on
you
the
already-
Dodgers from this year?
You
Yeah.
already said that he was. It's not Tommy Edman. I already made that guess.
Is it Alex Call?
No.
He's trying to stump us. I was gonna say he's trying to stump us.
This was a. This
Is
was
this
dirty
the?
pool.
Oh, is this Mookie's page from this year?
This is Mookie Betts' page from 2025.
Oh my goodness. It is. That is a great poll right there. Because I was not thinking of him on any level.
Nope.
Yep.
But that is how he played.
Yep.
I feel like I have no idea what baseball is,
Right.
how it works after not being able to guess that one. Good job.
Yeah, you got me because I was thinking of all the random players other than him.
100%.
All right. So here's mine. I wish I
Oh
could see
dear
it.
God.
I can't see mine right now. Okay, now I can.
98 sprint speed. That rules out quite a number of people.
It's the big dumper.
that would be something right there. I'd love that one.
This is one of my favorite players to watch. Oh, man. If you can tell, I have a player type.
I was gonna say it can't be Victor Scott.
No.
Batting
was
run
Victor
value
Scott's
is way
page.
too high.
Oh my god.
Tim would be just. I mean, I don't know that we could contain
I
him
think
on the
this is going
screen.
to be his Savant page one day.
All right. Based off
It's
what
a
you said. Go ahead.
I'll say first one would be it's in the National League.
Okay.
National League.
Just based off of what you've said, not digging a whole lot into it, is it Michael Harris?
No, it's a good guess though.
Is this Tatis? Is this his page?
Our whole podcast is always about coming back to Tatis.
100%.
I mean, it looks like this would be one that I would pin for him, but you said you haven't seen it in a while, so. But man,
it is not. But you want me to give you another hint?
just give me the division.
It's in the same division.
National League West.
Yes.
Is this Corbin Carroll?
This is Corbin Carroll.
Beautiful. Great guess.
Yeah, I mean, again, the sprint speed is something that gives it away. Like, I knew it was one of those outfielders.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure. At first, I almost, but then the expected, all of those things were starting to get me with PCA. I thought he was going to pull
That's
PCA for a minute.
That would be
but
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, he is one of my favorite players to watch. So I guess you can tell I do have a type of baseball player that I like. There's a little
hey,
bit
we
of-
all do. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're grown men. We can admit it.
Yeah.
That was fun, boys. We'll have to keep doing that. See if we can stump Michael. You got us.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I was shocked.
that was a smart call, too, because it was way down than average.
Well, so to tell you boys a little bit about that one, I got to thinking last night a little bit about what Mookie Betts, what his resume looks like now. Because the guy's got, 4 World Series now? And
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, that's kind of crazy. Plus, he's like a 6 or 8-time Gold Glove winner, like 8-time All-Star. I'm like, when this guy retires, everyone's going to look at all his stats and go, I did not appreciate how
Right.
good he actually was. Like,
Right.
I think we all appreciate, Mookie Betts is great, but, like, I was like, this guy's resume is stupid.
Right, and I didn't think he was that slow. But
He just
dude's
had
got a refrigerator on his back.
He had an all-around bad year, man.
I dare you guys to pull up Mookie Betts' 2018 Savant. It's freaking
I bet
crazy,
it's just nuts.
dude.
Oh, that's
It's looking like Otani's right now.
Yeah, right.
Man. It's interesting. That was his 2025. So his sprint speed in 2020 this year was in the 36th percentile. In 2018 is in the 77th percentile.
I was gonna say, like, he used to be a guy that I looked at and was like, that guy's got a lot of speed. So
Yeah.
he just had a bad year last year, man.
He really
no
did,
kidding.
man. He
I did
focused,
not. Yeah.
focused way too much on shortstop him.
And getting beat out by your boy.
Jeez, yeah. Only 8 stolen bases. I mean, obviously he's not fast. I mean, the last few years, 16 has been his high in stolen bases. So that's not part of his game.
To put that in perspective, Josh Naylor had more than he did.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I think Yachty's got more than that most of the time.
Josh Naylor though last year was here. I'm gonna show. Let me see if I can pull this up super quick. This is Mookie Betts's 2018. Look at that.
Gosh,
There's no blue.
look at that sprint speed, baby. Look at it. How do you go from that to what we saw a minute ago?
That's crazy.
Age, man.
Dude, lay off the tacos out there on the West Coast.
He's just coasting to the playoffs.
No, he's bowling too much. That's a
That's
problem.
what it is.
All right. Well, thanks guys for listening. This was a blast. I can't wait to keep doing this. We're gonna have to stump each other even more. The wrinkle in all this is when the WBC starts, we should do Savant pages for people in the WBC.
Oh my
Random
goodness.
WBC
Yes.
fools. I love it.
Guess this Puerto Rico pitcher. There's no MLB Savant page, but there is a Savant page.
That's right. I can't even pronounce his name, but here you go. Go for it.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for listening. Leave us a comment if you're watching and you were able to guess the name before we did, and we'll keep doing that. It's a lot of fun. So thanks guys. We will see you in the next episode.